I also realized when I was 18 years old, this pattern was repeating itself. I served my time in a factory on piecework, and you know, as I said before, on piecework you only get paid for what you produce. So as an apprentice, we go into the factory, they take us through the trade school, and we got some basic skills. At 18, you go on to piecework on the shop floor, and you're competing with men. So the foreman will come out, and he will give you a drawing, and he will give you some materials, and your job is to convert the materials to the drawing, take them to the inspector, who will measure them, and if they measure up right, he will sign them off. If he signs them off, you take your ticket, and you give it to the checker, who will give you the money in your wages. Very simple system. So what I very quickly found out was the drawing was a guide to what the market wanted. That's all it was. Because trying to make it perfect was impossible. In the early days, I would do the best I could, take my box of finished goods up to the inspector, who would then say to me, "That's wrong." And I'd say, "Excuse me, why is that wrong?" He said, "Because this bit of metal is too long here." I say, "But that's not my fault. The guy on the guillotine that cut that and got paid and handed that to me has cut that long, and he's cut those ones short." And the inspector would say, "Oh, yes. But if you'd worked every one from this end and bent it, it would still be fit for purpose because we could use it." Now what I realized was the drone was just a guide, but the inspector was the market that would release the money. So what I quickly learned was, rather than try and follow the drawing, I would take the drawing and the materials to the inspector, and I would say, "How do you want me to work these materials so you will give me the money?" Which is why I was there. And he quickly told me, he said, "Right, bend it from this end, mark this hole from that end, blah, blah, blah." And that was the model. I would then go away, I would make one, I would spend my time and make one, and I would take back the inspector and I would say, "Is that what you want?" And if he said yes, then I had the route to the money. Because all I have to do now is I go back to my bench in this factory, in this industry, and I just have to become fast at making everyone exactly the same. And at 18, I became fast. At 19, I became faster. At 21, I became so fast, I broke the system. I broke the system because I had so much money in the back of the book. There was a ceiling on the earnings. I couldn't earn any more because I'd hit the limit. So now I was becoming bored with work. It didn't matter if I worked 1 day or 5 days, I was on the same pay because I had a store of money. Now what's happening is I'm getting despondent, not interested anymore. There's no point to the work. I'm only on attendance money. So what do? I need more money. I've got basic skills. Now what I heard was if you worked on the oil rigs in the North Sea, you could earn more money. So I hitchhiked up to Aberdeen and I tried to get a job. Couldn't get one. 3 months later, I got a phone call and I got a job. The next day I was on an oil rig, trebled my earnings overnight. So, changed the way I think, changed my activity through the day, and I got 3 times the money. Now I'm working on the oil rig, same skills, but 3 times the money. So each time I plateau, I had a system that was embedded in my brain, in my NLP, of how to change. But what I'd done was I took the action. Each time I wanted more, I wanted something different, I took the action. So now, when I look at the piecework mentality, what I try to do now is I try to look at my life and I try and get the greatest reward based on what I know, not what I do. So now I get earnings coming into my life without ever having to do all the work. And that is the basis of systemization. Okay, so now we understand piecework mentality. But it doesn't only work in your financial life, it also works in your personal life. So whatever you want in your life, if you accept that you have to change and you then take the action, you will always get the results you require. This was a free lesson, but there are 12 lessons I teach. And I believe the most underused tool in management that I've ever come across is understanding Maslow's pyramid, the pyramid of needs. I could talk for 20 hours on the pyramid of needs, but I'll try and keep it down to 40 minutes. And the next lesson will be the pyramid of needs. But if you want to see that, sign up for the course. There'll be a course every week for the next 12 weeks. And you can sign up and download these from our website. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. I certainly have. And if you can get to Newcastle, I run workshops on a regular basis called the Hard Knock School of Business, and I guarantee at the end of it, you'll think totally different about your business. Thanks for listening.